Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. About 2 years ago, I did a video where I compiled the 10 highest attack point totals that we have ever seen in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. And about 2 years later, I finally decided that it was time to take a look at the much overlooked defense points when it comes to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. So for this list, we are not looking at just base defense points. We will be looking at defense points that are boosted by card effects, and we are going to compile the 10 strongest walls, the highest defense stats that we have seen in the entire history of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, from Duel Monsters all the way to Vrains. Now, I will kick off and mention right away, this is not going to be as ridiculous as the attack point list. Attack points are usually way more focused on than defense points. In fact, in most cases, in most decks, in most duels, defense points are completely irrelevant, so it's very rare to see defense points get boosted to ridiculous amounts, or to just see monsters have high defense points. So for example, Shun's Raid Raptor Rise Falcon had 16,400 attack points at one point in the anime. That was good enough to make the number 10 spot on that list for the highest attack points. If a monster with 16,400 defense points was on this list, it would be good for the number 3 spot. So yeah, clearly it's not going to be as insane, but I still hope it is a fun video for you guys, and if I do miss or forget any monsters, please let me know down below. Also, I will not be including monsters that have infinity attack points and infinity defense points. I included them when I did my top 10 attack points video. I feel like it would be repetitive to do it for this list as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. The 10 highest defense point monsters that we have seen in the history of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. I hope you guys enjoy. Kicking off this list is actually an immediate tie for 9th place. The cutoff to make this list is 4,800 defense points, which, as I mentioned, is not nearly as staunch as the number to make the top 10 for attack points, which again is Shun's Rise Falcon at 16,400. Nevertheless, we have Hellkaiser's Chimera Tech Overdragon, which reached 4,800 defense points in his duel against Mad Dog. When Chimera Tech Overdragon is fusion summoned, it gains 800 attack points and 800 defense points for each monster that was used in its fusion summon. On the final turn of this duel, Zane uses 6 monsters to fusion summon Overdragon, bringing its attack and defense stat to 4,800 points. Of course, it didn't really matter what Overdragon's defense points were, as Zane goes on to brutally destroy Mad Dog's board and bring his life points all the way down from 15,000 to 0 in a single turn. Another monster with 4,800 defense points is one of the very few monsters on this list in which their defense stat is actually super relevant for their style of play, and that is the Man Gangenzika from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 Super Heavy Samurai Steam Train King. This ultimate level 12 synchro monster did not make its debut until the very end of Arc 5, episode 143 to be exact, when Gangenzika was part of that 4-headed duel between him, Yuya, Shingo, and Tsukikage of all people. The thing that made Gangenzika's defense monsters so lethal is that they can attack while in defense position, and if they do, you can use their defense points as attack points, meaning Gangenzika was able to use all of the 4,800 defense points as attack points in this duel, making this one of the rare instances that having high defense points is actually relevant. I always loved this concept of super heavy samurais, and it really made them one of the more unique archetypes in all of the Arc 5 anime. We are not done with Gangenzika in this video just yet, but Super Heavy Samurai Steam Train King and its 4,800 defense points is good for 9th on this list. Up next, we have a convoluted 3-way tie for 6th place, so basically the next 3 monsters make up the 8, 7, and 6 spots on this list. And kicking off that triple tie is everyone's favorite, FiveHeaded Dragon with 5,000 defense points. For being such an intimidating looking monster, FiveHeaded Dragon is actually a pretty generic villain ace. We have seen FiveHeaded Dragon used a few times in the original show, in 2 different instances by the Big 5, once in episode 45, and once while they had Tristan possessed. In episode 185, we see KC Dual Tech 760 use this monster against a random dude in Kaiba Land. Then in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Truman uses this card in the early stages of Season 4 against Jode. Funny enough, this card was actually shown to be in Zane Truesdale's deck on multiple occasions throughout GX, but it was never actually played by him. FiveHeaded Dragon has a massive 5,000 attack and 5,000 defense stat, and can only be summoned by fusing 5 dragon-type monsters together. You'll notice a pattern here that not only do all 3 of these monsters have exactly 5,000 defense points, but they also have exactly 5,000 attack points. FiveHeaded Dragon is the first of 3 in this tie. Up next is another 5k and 5k monster, one of my favorites from the original series, Dragon Master Knight. Dragon Master Knight is literally Yami Yugi's Blackluster Soldier riding on the back of Kaiba's Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. And even though it's such a simple concept, I think the art and the concept of this monster is awesome. We see Dragon Master Knight a couple of times throughout Duel Monsters. We see it first used in the Legendary Heroes arc against the Big Five, and we also see it summoned when Kaiba and Yugi team up to take on Darts in Season 4. A fun fact is that Dragon Master Knight and Five-Headed Dragon were both summoned in anime-exclusive arcs of Duel Monsters, which I always found to be kind of interesting. Let's keep rolling with the double 5k monsters. So to conclude our 5k and 5k monsters, we actually have a movie monster appearing on one of these lists, which movies are definitely eligible for these lists. They just usually don't make any stat lists like this for whatever reason. But with 5,000 attack and 5,000 defense, we have Paradox's Malefic Truth Dragon. Malefic Truth Dragon was Paradox's final monster, a massive level 12 dragon, which Stardust Dragon would eventually get over and destroy to finish off Paradox and save the world. Much like all of the 5,000 monsters in this three-way tie, the fact that it has 5,000 defense points is pretty much irrelevant in the actual duel, and only relevant for a list like this. And yeah, Malefic Truth Dragon wraps up the 3 5k attack and 5k defense monsters we have seen throughout the Yu-Gi-Oh! Animes. Although, maybe not. So Cardians is an archetype used by Enjoy Chojiro in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, and during his duel against Yuzu in episode 69, he summons a monster named Flower Cardian 5 Lights, which boasts 5,000 attack points. Here's the thing, we never see the defense points of this monster. The only time we see an image of this card, it's in the OP, and as you can tell, the quality of it makes it impossible to read its stats. What makes this mystery even more intriguing is that every single Cardian has the same attack and same defense point stats. So based on that logic, maybe this monster also has 5,000 defense in the anime. 5 Lights was printed, Light Flare in the TCG, and it was printed with 0 defense points, making it the only Cardian to not match its attack and defense. But who knows, maybe this monster did have 5,000 defense in the show, and we will never know. I mean, it's pretty irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, obviously. The only relevance it has is for super specific, fun lists like these. I told you we were not done with Gungenzika. Just cracking the top 5 is Gungenzika's Super Heavy Samurai Beast Kyuubi, a monster that I am definitely pronouncing wrong, which at one point reached 5,200 defense points. As we touched on earlier, Super Heavy Samurais actually have a motive and a reason to have high defense, since you can use their defense for damage calculation when you attack. Gungenzika takes on Crow during the Friendship Cup in episode 66. Samurai Beast Kyuubi normally has only 2,500 defense points, but that gets more than doubled during this duel. Its effect allows it to gain 900 defense points for each special summoned monster that Crow has on the field, and when Kyuubi gets summoned, Crow has 3 special summoned monsters on his field. The defense points skyrocket by 2,700 due to this effect, all the way up to 5,200. The very next turn, Crow summons Kusanagi and gets over Kyuubi, defeating Gungenzika and advancing in the tournament. Regardless, Gungenzika's Super Heavy Samurais have 2 spots on this top 10 list at the time of recording. Coming in 4th is Lifestream Dragon, which through effects reached 5,400 defense points in Rua or Leo in the dubs last duel. For those that have not watched the final season of 5Ds, you are missing out on one of my favorite duels from the franchise, which is the 3-on-1 duel between Jack and the twins against Aporia. During the final turn of this duel, Rua activates a trap which lets him use Lifestream Dragon's defense points to lower Aporia's Mech Lord Asterix attack points. The problem is, Lifestream Dragon only has 2,400 defense. This changes when Rua's sister activates Fairy Breath, allowing Lifestream Dragon to take on the defense points of Ancient Fairy Dragon. Ancient Fairy Dragon has 3,000 defense, so the 2 stats combined give Lifestream Dragon a massive 5,400 defense points, which, hey, what do you know, is actually extremely important and necessary in this duel. Asterisk loses 5,400 attack, Jack's Scar Red Nova Dragon's attack goes through, and Aporia is finally defeated. I guess it would be unfair to say Rua deserves all the credit for getting this spot, since he got a massive assist from Ruka, which I think perfectly demonstrates their bonds and sibling love in their final duel of the show. The next two spots are actually held by the good old Egyptian god monsters. Taking the bronze medal for the highest defense points we have seen in the anime is the Winged Dragon of Ra. During Yami Marek's battle against Yami Bakura, probably the purest evil duel we have ever had in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Yami Marek ends up summoning Ra. We learn of a new ability that Ra has, in which you can pay any amount of your life points to increase Ra's attack and defense by that amount. You want a really ugly and gross-looking number? Yami Marek sacrifices 8,549 of his 8,550 life points to Ra, bringing its attack and defense to a gross 8,549 defense points. I gotta be honest with you guys, I am very thankful Yu-Gi-Oh! Uses whole and evenly rounded to the 100 numbers for the most part. It just looks nice. Looking at weird numbers like this after being used to multiples of hundreds makes my skin crawl for whatever reason. But yeah, unfortunately, the third highest defense points we have ever seen in the anime is 8,549. It's funny because this number wouldn't even come close to touching the top 10 for highest attack points in the show, but I guess again, attack points are way more useful and important than defense points 99% of the time. Winged Dragon of Ra gets the bronze medal on this list. Coming in second, the runner-up spot on this list is Yugi's Egyptian god Slifer the Sky Dragon. So here's the thing with this entry. We actually do not know the exact number that Slifer reached. I know it's kind of a kick in the stomach to make a list like this and not have a definitive number for the second freaking spot on the list, but we do have a range that Slifer's attack and defense stat must be between. Let me explain. String summons Slifer against Yugi during Battle City. Slifer's effect makes it gain 1,000 attack and 1,000 defense for every card you have in your hand. Yugi ends up winning by getting Strings in an infinite draw loop where he draws cards until he decks out and loses. The last stat we see Slifer have on screen is 23,000, which automatically gives him the number 2 spot on this list. However, at most, this number could have ended up being much higher. Let's say Strings was using a 60 card deck, which is the highest amount of cards you can have in a deck. Unless I manually counted incorrectly, Strings should have drawn card number 35 in his deck when getting Slifer to 23,000. Meaning, if Strings had 60 cards in his deck, the maximum number that Slifer could have reached was 48,000 attack and defense points, which is actually insane when you really think about it. In a 40 card deck, which is way more likely how many cards Strings had, Slifer would have reached 28,000, so that's most likely where he panned out. Regardless, Slifer, thanks to this infinite loop, receives the silver medal and the runner-up spot on this list. And having the record for the most defense points we have ever seen throughout the Yu-Gi-Oh! Animes in almost 1,000 episodes is the classic and almost over-talked about at this point, the predictable Don Thousand's Chaos Imaginary Number 1000, Numeronius Numeronia, boasting a ridiculous 100,000 attack and 100,000 defense. The main antagonist of Zexal takes on Shark and Yuma in a 2-on-1 duel, and during episode 140, summons this atrocity of a monster. It's still to date one of my favorite summoning chants and animations in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Numeronius having 100,000 defense points is unfortunately completely irrelevant. The monster is never put in defense mode, and therefore could have 100 defense points, and it would not have changed anything in this duel, which again, does hold true for most monsters on this list. So the most relevant winner on this list is Lifestream Dragon, since his defense points actually mattered, but regardless, Don Thousand has another monster take home a medal on a top 10 list, and I still truly believe we will never get a monster with more base attack and base defense points than Numeronia, not including monsters with infinite stats, obviously. And that about wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed my top 10 highest defense points that we have seen throughout the Yu-Gi-Oh! Animes. I know a lot of the monsters on this list, it doesn't really matter what their defense points were. There were only a few cases like the Super Heavy Samurais and the Lifestream Dragon instance where defense points were actually relevant, but that's just how it goes. Attack points are more important 99% of the time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Than defense points are. I still hope you enjoyed the video and learned something new, and if I missed anything, please let me know. Huge thank you to Jode Extreme for helping me with this list. Definitely follow him on Twitter. Really nice, knowledgeable guy. And a special thank you to all my Platinum tier patrons: Alexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, James Rose, Samuel Stark, Thomas Adderley, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Vincent Van Der Veen, Jordan Osceola, Smith620, RedEye, FrostReaper, Jorge Leon, Melinda Phantom, and Blue Maiden 28. And to my Diamond tier patrons: Jesse Wood, Garrett Palmer, Galladiator, and Ben Hartz. And to my Egyptian God tier patrons: Syn Cloud, Chris Swan, Joss Rivers, and Matthew Kennedy ×2. Huge thank you to all of my patrons, to all of my channel members. I cannot tell you how much it helps me out, and a huge thank you to everyone who just watches these videos, because without you guys, I would not be able to do this. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any other suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. I will talk to you down below in the comment section, and I hope you have an amazing day.